Welcome to David's Life and Observation with your host, David Welch. You got to ask yourself, in this day and age, what are the cops up to? For real. What are they doing? What from George Floyd to brutalizing a 79-year-old woman with dementia named Karen to shooting unarmed people of color. Pretty normal at that. And still, we have no justice for Breonna Taylor, no justice for Mr. Brown, who was recently shot. We have no justice for so many out there. And then you have our president come out and say, we the people are the government. No. We the people were never the government. We the people are we the fucking people. The citizenry. We the people doesn't mean the government has extra fucking rights to do shit that they have no extra ability to do. We the people was never the goddamn government. And then we the people reserve the right to come overthrow and take over and burn down the current system. Meaning the DOJ, Department of Homeland Security, the whole shebang. My theory is this. Gay people, trans people should be able to get married, have kids, and use tanks to protect their marijuana grows. I believe that. We have too many dumb motherfuckers in this country that really don't understand the concept of freedom. We have a lot of Karens and Kens out there who, for the love of Christ, never watched that show, The Wave, back in high school, where it was like this social experiment at a high school where, if you weren't part of that group, The Wave, then you were part of this illicit group that just got ridiculed and picked on and excluded, and people didn't like that feeling. People didn't like that whole film because at the end it made them realize that they were aligning within goose step of the Nazis. And then you have the gentleman up in Toronto. I think it's Toronto. One of the Canadian, he's like a Polish Canadian gentleman who's a pastor, who's taking on the law enforcement there and calling them Nazis and brown shirts when they're doing Nazi and brown shirt shit. And then they're staring at him in disbelief, how dare this call me that? But when you do brown shirt shit, I mean, if the shoe fits, right? And that's all cops. The whole concept of all cops are bastards or all cops are bad, well, it's because it's true. Their entire existence is built on a really bad fucking job description back in the 1700s. Also, they were never meant to be an occupying force the way they are now, right? Law enforcement in our communities have deployable tanks. They have deployable up-armored vehicles. They have deployable fast action and quick action groups like SWAT. They have helicopters and planes at their disposal. I mean, these fucking people have every armament to be a standing army in our country. And they act as if they are with impunity because, quite frankly, such a minuscule, super small amount actually get in trouble for the crimes they commit on a daily basis. And you know what's funny? Law enforcement officers just don't get it. They don't get why they're hated so much. Everything you do will fuck someone's life so bad that it's non-recoverable. They lose everything. They could lose their life. They lose life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's enough. But you have some people who lose children, who lose everything to these crooked cops. You got cops that shoot dogs wantonly. And not only do they shoot at animals, they don't care where they're shooting. They fucking hit people and then they're non-apologetic for it. We have law enforcement officers that don't know their taser from their gun, literally. You would think that's a bad joke, but it's not. So you have... And you know what it is? And I think women honestly can do anything they really put their mind to. There are badass women out there. For sure. We've already proven it. There's badass women pilots, badass women in some of the special forces. You know, like we just have badass. We have cage fighting women who put on amazing displays of martial arts. Bar none. Doesn't matter. Like, they've already reached the competition level of men. Like, the Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I can't say her name properly, and I hope she forgives me. And Zaylee Wang, I mean, oh my God, fight of the century, right? Like, unbelievable fight. And you've got Rose Namajunas, you got all these, you know, badass women out there. Angela Hill, Andrade. I mean, amazing demographic of fighters from all over the world. But, and it's a bad but. Like, it's something I don't even like feel like is needed to be said. But there are certain people, and this is for men too, because you've seen men do it. There are certain people that do not need to be in law enforcement, do not need to be in the military, because when they react to fear in a very bad way, right? Like, you can be fearful, like you can have phobias where you have just this uncontrollable fear of something. For me, it's lightning. Like, I have an uncontrollable fear of lightning. Now, will I go out in the elements and brave that fear? Yes, because one, I'm part stupid, so I understand my limitations of cognitive ability. So, you know, fuck it, let's go. Like, I'm part of that adrenaline, you know, group as well. I'm open for disparity. I've also got a slight fear of heights, even though I've skydove, I've jumped off like really high platforms, things like that. But it was terrifying, fucking terrifying. It takes me a little bit to get going. But yeah, did it. Wasn't too bad. Wasn't too crazy. I've got a fear of public speaking slightly, you know, like, but I react to most situations under pressure very well. I don't get frozen off on a lot of things. Not likely. No, I perform pretty well under the pressure of time constraints and circumstance, things like that. But when you don't know your job and it has people's lives in the balance, you need to do something else. Because if you're yelling taser, 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 and you fire off a round, even if it's just one, you just killed that person. And then you got cops going online crying that it's a few bad apples. Like, listen, dumbasses. It's not a few bad apples. It's not, because if there were good cops, then this is just the facts. If there were good cops, there would be no bad cops in your department, because those bad cops would be reported and they'd be worked on their way out. But here's what ends up happening for real. The good cops report the bad cops. The bad cops collude with other bad cops to get the good cops out of their department. Christopher Dorner, a couple other names come to mind. Baltimore cop. You had a cop in, I think, New York they had literally left rats on his squad car. Nobody came to back him up. That's the culture of policing that we have in the United States. That's it. Like, fuck the people. Fuck the naysayers. We're going to get ours. That's the culture of police. Oh, and they actually think they're warriors for some reason. I don't know because they think like it's some sort of like game where they win every gunfight, they win every fight. Like the only reason you motherfuckers win at all is because people are literally afraid of catching more charges. Which is why you'll see people who are high level athletes, high level mixed martial artists, high level shooters, and huntsmen not resist. Because what'll end up happening is if they take action, even in the slightest, they're going to get hit with several more charges, which are felonies, like assault of a police officer, or attempting to evade, or any number of made up shit that they've made up to make sure that people never ever dare fight them. Which is why you have an overwhelming win or overwhelming sense of cops are these like heroes busting the bad guys. But when you realize your bad guy isn't really a bad guy and they're your neighbor and they've committed no crime, but you've got hero cop that sees a phone and they scream gun, 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 and they fire off a million fucking shots at someone, hoping they'll fire off a whole fucking clip and hit that motherfucker 2 times. I said it. These motherfuckers are not practiced enough. Like Jocko Willink was right in a sense. We need to make a higher fucking demand of law enforcement in the field because we need to have a demand of their education level. We can't have mongoloids out there anymore. We can't have the knuckle draggers that are like, I'm a police officer. I'm uneducated. I'm gonna practice the law that I've been practicing in for 35 years, and that's kicking indoors and bashing skulls. Like, you have these fucking dinosaurs and these mongoloids and these dumbasses carrying a gun and wielding a badge, and they beat the fuck out of people. They beat innocent people. They beat their dog. They beat their kids. They're horrible human beings, which is why when it's so funny when they get caught up in their own shit. It's hilarious because they're like, well, guys, what do you mean I'm going to get a DUI? You're treating me the same as them? I'm not the same. I'm one of you. I'm one of you. And then they're like, my career, it's over. Or you got people that are like, oh, well, hey Jim, I know I'm I've already killed the woman of the house. I've got these 3 pretty little daughters of mine, and I just don't want them to go off in a world without, mommy and daddy. So you fucking snap and kill them because you lost your job, or you kill them because she decided to pack up their shit and go to her sister's for real? Like, for real? And cops are the worst fucking stalkers and creepiest people on the planet because they have databases and information of where you could possibly fucking go given a situation. They have addresses to everybody you fucking know, and they're creepy stalkers. They're the worst, and they will hide behind their badge. And it doesn't matter the jurisdiction they're in. They will have friends there that will cover for them because of the Thin Blue Gang. Cops are creepy in general. They think it's okay to rape and have sex with women on the job, and then they're like crying that ability was taken away from them back in 2010 or something like that. Literally, they were crying about that shit. Like, why can't we sleep with strippers and sleep with these streetwalkers anymore? It's weird because, we need to test all the products and make sure they're good. I don't know the mentality behind that. I really don't. But and I'm for legalization of prostitution. I'm all for it. We should legalize prostitution in this country. Abso-fucking-lutely. One, it would solve a lot of fucking problems because you already have a contingency of men out there that are just done with marriage. They are done with the dating scene as it is because women in this country want their cake and eat it too. And I'm not saying this because I'm going through a divorce. I'm saying this because it's fucking true. And marriages are the worst possible deals for men. They just flat out are. No other situation where you would go into a partnership with somebody, and as soon as you go into that partnership and they decide to leave, or they decide that it's over, or they decide to, be unfaithful, or whatever the circumstances are, then they can take half your shit and the kids, and you really don't have a say because the court's going to side with that other partner, hands down. Facts. Now, is that every court? No. The lion's share of courts out there? Yep. Absolutely. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even come down to who makes more, because sometimes the gentleman making great fucking money is just seen as a purse. Men are always just seen as a giant bag of money. We're like Felix the cat when it comes to that, but it's just full of money, and constantly. And 9 times out of 10, it's so that women can have this extra source of income while doing them and being independent. Wink, wink. Independent to be able to do their own thing. Wink, wink. And then as soon as they're independent for a week, they have a new man. Wink, wink. Who pays for all their shit. Wink, wink. And then you have men falling into this trap multiple times. Multiple times. You have these hags. And you have these bitches who end up in their 30s with 3 divorces and 4 kids. And they're Miss Independent because they're getting 10 G's a month from 3 different dudes. Facts. And then they're like, oh, I started my own online business. That's how I'm doing so well. Like, nope, that's not it. Mm-mm. And then these same women will have their kids in rags, but these people will have their nails done. They'll have nothing but high-end clothing and $400 purses and jewelry and all that, but they'll live in a hovel, or they'll live with their mom because grandma should take care of their kids while they go out and just do whatever it is that they want to do. The fuck? Meanwhile, you got men out there who are committing suicide on a very high rate, and you're like, why is that fucking happening? Well, they're not able to see their kids. They're working their ass off, barely able to scrape by living in an apartment, while the rest of their paycheck goes towards kids they cannot see, and kids that they're being told they cannot see by 2 entities, the government and the ex-spouse, because of, oh, we don't want to create a bad circumstance because I've got a new person in my life. The fuck? Anyways, I digress. We got more shit in the news. Like, we have a gentleman out of Colorado, Eric Brandt, getting, I think, 12 years for a judge getting butthurt and saying, not actually, circumstance didn't even actually happen. There was no threat or even an implied threat, but the judge says they were threatened by Mr. Eric while he was in their court for a different reason. But this is just retaliation of someone who stood up for their rights, who stood on their convictions, and now they're being pursued relentlessly by the system, because the system has unending resources. They have just this unending cache of things. Why do you think police officers will pull you over and one of the first questions they ask you is, do you have large denominations of cash in here? Or do you have significant amount of cash in the vehicle? The reason they're asking that is because of civil asset forfeiture. They will take it. So the answer to that is, I don't know, or no, sir. Even if it is, no, sir, no, ma'am. Okay? Or you could just keep your fucking mouth shut and say, you know what? I choose not to answer questions. That's your best bet. Anytime you ever get pulled over or any circumstance, you're stopped on a street, and there are certain ways they can hold you, right? So a traffic stop is one of them. Do you have to get out of your car? Yes. Arguing with them on the side of the road is fucking mute. Does not make sense. Just when it comes to the side of the road, when they ask you to get out, even if they haven't told you what it is, just get out, do what they tell you to do. And if they persist in a line of questioning, you just tell them, I don't answer questions. That'll piss them off beyond all reason. It will. It'll just make them infuriating. You don't have to answer any of their... Even if it's about the driver's license, they'll say, you have to answer this. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. I don't have to answer any questions. I don't have to answer any questions. You got to fit the amendment. Anything that could be incriminating or implied some sort of charge, you don't have to answer that question. Nada. Zilch, zero. Don't have to. Okay? When you're walking on the street, first thing you should ask is, hey, am I being detained? If they say no, walk, leave, or just move away from them and you can stay. Right? Because if you're free to go, you're free to stay. If they tell you to keep walking, politely just say, you know what, I don't have to. That's it. That's it. If they walk up and they keep pursuing you and they want to put hands on you, let them fuck up. If they say, hell, we're going to perform a Terry frisk, make sure they don't go in your pockets. The instant they go in your pockets, that is an illegal search and or seizure of your person. Okay? Unless they see something in the shape of a weapon. Right? So if it's your phone in combination with an inhaler, they may go in to make sure it's an inhaler. Happens. Okay? And now if you don't have anything in your pockets and they're just searching in your pockets and they're searching for an ID, that is illegal as fuck. Okay? That is so illegal. And you need to... The thing about law enforcement when they fuck up, you need to file complaints immediately and get your video ready so that you can pursue criminal charges against them. Okay? When you file your complaints, also talk to as many lawyers as you can to file a civil suit. Now, if you've been arrested, do not, under any fucking circumstances, just listen to your defense attorney. And it's okay to fire them. If they say, hey, we just need to take a plea deal, that's already a bad defense attorney. Especially if you've done nothing. If you haven't done anything and they're like, well, we just might want to take a plea deal because you're only going to get, this, and this, do not listen. Don't listen to them. You don't have to. And if the first thing out of their mouth is you need to take a deal, is the second thing out of their mouth should be, get the fuck out of here, I need a different lawyer. It's facts. Now, a lawyer, just because you've fired your lawyer doesn't mean your lawyer has been fired by the court. Okay? So your lawyer has to go up there and recuse themselves from the situation or get themselves out of the situation by asking for leave of counsel. And then just make sure, though, that if you do this, that you are either planning on paying for counsel, which is going to be lofty, or you just simply ask, hey, I just would like a different representation. The representation afforded to me was, not ready for circumstances that he didn't want to believe in. So, or something to that effect, right? Didn't want to do what is being asked by their client. So, simple. See if you can't get afforded a new state's attorney or defense attorney. And that will probably push the bar back for you if you're already in a situation where they have to do bond. Like, always ask for cost-free bond. Always. I don't care if they said it or whatever. Say, hey, I have no money for bond. I would like costless bond. That way, or you can say community service. I mean, there's another way to do bond, right? But you don't always have the bond out either. You can sit in the jail cell. It's fine. The longer they punish you, the more of the lawsuit you're going to get. Guaranteed. Okay? As soon as your case is dismissal and you file, everything you can on your side and you get that dismissal, immediately file Chapter 80, Chapter 87. What was it? Chapter 87? Oh, I'm trying to remember. Anyways, you need to file a civil rights claim against the city, and then every individual officer need to go after them, because as soon as they lose qualified immunity, you're going to want to name them specifically. And then make sure in your suit that as part of your, kind of asks for compensation, that you include their post-certification so that they are no longer able to go policing anywhere else. because that's going to hurt them more than anything, losing post certification. Okay. Anyway, so and it's a long drawn out process. It's not going to happen for you immediately. It's going to be months, if not years, down the road before you get any justice for one bad night. And then that's what cops don't understand either, which I don't know why they don't understand this. One bad night for you is going to cost you years of pain and torment, or possibly years of missing birthdays with your kids and all sorts of other things. But then they wonder, like, why are we being demonized? We're doing the right thing. We're following orders. Motherfuckers, it did not work for the Nazis at Nuremberg. It's not going to work for you motherfuckers. If you don't want to be called a Nazi, get a different job. That's all I got to say. If you don't like being yelled at, kicked at, screamed at, ridiculed, and everything that involves your job, get the fuck out. Nobody's forcing you to be a police officer. The only reason you're still a police officer is because you have nothing else to give society. You are the bottom of the goddamn barrel. You are worse than homeless. Even the homeless people have skills. They have degrees oftentimes. You people are the lowest foundation of society and scum. There's nothing worse than an out of work police officer, or there's nothing worse than a police officer who is a gypsy cop jumping from station to station because they can't maintain employment somewhere because they're constantly fucking up and costing that community hundreds, if not millions of dollars. Facts. They are the lowest form of society. And I believe law enforcement, period. I mean, I don't care if you've been in law enforcement forever. I don't care if you're a detective, a captain, a chief, or whatever the fuck. You are the lowest form of society. You are scum and terrorists. So just know that when you get bottles thrown at your face and you get your house raided by regular fucking people, you get your kids set on fire or whatever the situation is, it's okay because you had this shit coming to you. It is absolutely okay that people terrorize you and your family the way you terrorize your community. Absolutely okay. I'm speaking for all levels of law enforcement here. I'm talking FBI, NSA, CIA. I don't care what branch of law enforcement you belong to, whether it's federal, city, municipal, whatever, sheriff's department. I don't care. You are the lowest form of society. You are part of a history that needs to be abolished and redone and reworked. We need to get rid of dumbass shit like qualified immunity. And quite frankly, the castles and the armor and everything that you've been given by society needs to be stripped from you wholesale and immediately. All the power you thought you had needs to be stripped. You need to be lined up and beaten. And a total changeover needs to happen. I don't care if you've been in law enforcement a day. If you went through the academy of the old regime, done. Quite frankly, you have no business ever having a badge and being part of the law enforcement community moving forward. The only way we're going to do that is if we uproot all the ticks who are living on government assistance, strip their pensions. I don't care how long of good service they think they've had. They have not had good service. They've violated people's rights. They've committed atrocities and crimes and ruined lives. There are no good officers out there. There can't be. If they've allowed even one bad officer to ruin their entire department, like let's take, for example, Mesa Police Department. Man, in Arizona, these guys are the worst of the worst and the bottom of the barrel. Like, you have officers out there every day, like, or you have former officers that were playing Simon Says with a fucking pest control guy's life, you know, made him crawl on the floor, fucking couldn't possibly put him in cuffs, had to shoot him, writing "you're fucked" on the side of their weapon, all that jazz. So yes, it's okay to actively go out and murder anybody in law enforcement right now, their friends, their families, anybody affiliated with them, quite frankly, because they are the worst scum on the planet and they are terrorists. So take that with you, take that as a whatever you'd like it, but that's just facts.